Today, I'm comparing two of the most iconic aluminum carry-on suitcases in luxury travel. The Zero Halliburton Heritage Continental 34-liter carry-on and the Sterling Pacific 40-liter carry-on. They might look similar. They are both ultra luxury, but they are priced very differently. And they're built on two completely different philosophies. My promise to you is simple. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one makes sense to you and the way that you travel. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Gary Tilkin. I'm an ultra luxury cruise travel and travel product influencer. What does that mean to you? Absolutely nothing, unless what I have to say makes sense. Well, let me share something with you. For over 40 years of my career, I traveled extensively, both domestic and internationally, accumulating close to 5 million miles with Delta Airlines and 3,000 plus nights with Marriott. I'm the highest status for both. During that time, I owned and traveled with the highest end aluminum briefcase, carry-ons, check-in, and backpacks. I learned very early that cheap luggage simply doesn't last. It fails, it gets replaced, and it ends up being not a good value at all. In my early 20s, I purchased my first set of very high-end aluminum luggage, and it lasted for decades. I still own the original briefcase today, more than 30 years later. Now that, to me and to you, is a true value. Hi there, I'm so excited. I just received from UPS my delivery of my 40-liter carry-on from Sterling Pacific. Now I remember when I opened up my first piece of luggage from Sterling Pacific, which is right over here, it's the 90-liter check. I looked at it, I opened it, and I was greatly impressed with the way that they shipped it to me. And I thought, what a great way to start this video, but to show you the care that this company puts into their products, even when they send them out to you. So let's open this, shall we? Now, early on in my career, I was into packaging. And I know that you can use foam or bubble wrap or corrugated. The most expensive is the use of bubble wrap, believe it or not, because corrugated is relatively inexpensive, and also foam, you make it in such a large quantity, it becomes really inexpensive. But when Sterling Pacific did this for all of their pieces of luggage, they made custom-made bubble wrap containers. Now this is the top, on the bottom is exactly the same. Inside, the sides are separated by corrugated protection. So let me pull this out so you can see it. Now what I want you to notice is that this has the same dust cover as the 90 does. And I love it because when you're going to check the luggage, it helps it with regards to some damage that might or might not occur. I absolutely always use it on my 90. I don't think I'm going to use it very much on my carry-on, and throughout my video I'll explain why. And it really is based on the 90 is designed really to take the majority of the abuse because it's checked in. The people who take it from the point you check it in till you get it back, they really don't care. But the carry-on stays with us, so we treat it with dignity. As I look at this, I go, you know, the things that I love so much about the 90, it's like identical to the 40-liter carry-on. Everything from the Italian leather handles to the trolley. And something that you need to know, all Sterling Pacifics come with an accessory bag. And in the accessory bag, you have a pen, leather cream, so that the leather looks beautiful for a long time. You have an instruction manual, and it's kind of nice.
It gives you everything that you need. But most importantly, it gives you a little card so that if you have a problem, since it's a lifetime warranty, just use the barcode. This is very unusual. This is a little gift that they give to you along with the actual dust cover. Now, throughout my presentation, I'm going to show you all the different aspects of the Sterling Pacific, and I'm going to compare it, as you already probably know, to the Zero Halliburton Heritage Series carry-on. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you stay with me. And I'm going to tell you, again, I'm so excited to have them both.
Before producing this video, I didn't just look at Zero Halliburton and Sterling Pacific. I evaluated aluminum luggage brands, famous ones like Noble Travel, Away, Monos, Toomey, Level 8, and of course, of Rimowa. I wasn't looking for brand recognition, aggressive marketing, or online hype. I was looking for exceptional materials and workmanship, balanced load and stability, thoughtful interior organization, high quality locking systems, stable, durable trolley arms, outstanding wheels, and proven durability backed by real world reviews. I did all this work so that you didn't have to. Before we get started, from a full disclosure standpoint, for this comparison, Zero Halliburton provided a promotional discount and Sterling Pacific provided their carry-on as a complimentary review unit. Prior to this video, I also compared two high-end aluminum checked luggage from both these brands. I personally purchased both the 90-liter check-ins and I used my own funds using promotional discounts provided by both brands. All my opinions in this video are based on real-world travel under real-world conditions. They're accurate, fair, and detailed, and my integrity is not for sale. Now you might ask, with all the brands that I researched and all the time I put into it, why did I choose these two? Well, they were not random choices. Zero Halliburton and Sterling Pacific represented opposite ends of the aluminum luggage mindset, both very high-end from a price spectrum. Zero Halliburton is heritage-driven, conservative sizing, lightweight, and proven design meant to work everywhere. Sterling Pacific is a boutique ultra-luxury brand, larger, heavier, intentionally overbuilt, and unapologetic about it. Both brands checked every box I was looking for based on decades of experience with top-tier aluminum luggage. We need to establish a foundation of understanding because many luggage reviews get this really wrong. Carry-on luggage does not experience the same abuse that checked luggage does. Most of the time, carry-on is handled by you. The only time a carry-on sees real abuse is when it is unexpectedly checked, and that happens very infrequently for most travelers. All aluminum luggage, carry-on or check-in, will get dings and dents and scratches and cosmetic marks. If it bothers you, then aluminum luggage is simply not for you. That said, many of us buy premium luggage and want it to be as durable as possible. Both Zero Halliburton and Sterling Pacific intentionally overbuilt their carry-ons, just to different degrees. Let's begin our comparison with size, weight, and airline reality. On paper, the differences are clear. The Zero Halliburton offers 34 liters of capacity at approximately 10.8 pounds. The Sterling Pacific offers 40 liters at about 12 pounds. Here's what actually matters. I have never been challenged by any airport, brand, or airline for either of these bags: domestic, international, cruise travel, and transfers from hotels. In real-world usage, both functionally are legitimate carry-ons. The conclusion here is simple. Sterling Pacific is larger and heavier. Zero Halliburton is smaller and lighter. Both are excellent. The choice depends on how you travel. Now we get to what truly separates these two brands: build philosophy. These includes engineering, materials, and attention to detail. Let's start with the Sterling Pacific 40-liter carry-on. Sterling Pacific uses a deliberate combination of 3 different aluminum types, depending on where strength is required. The shell is 0.9 millimeter thick 5052 series stamped aluminum with impact bearing ridges and 1.5 millimeter corner end caps. The top and the bottom frames are single pieces of extruded 6063 series aluminum tongue and groove structure, providing exceptional rigidity and precision. Critical stress areas include wheel housings, internal trolley housings, and telescopic arms are made of a cast A380 aluminum. The Sterling Pacific also uses SAE 340 stainless steel rivets, not aluminum rivets, 100 of them plus, spaced exactly 2 inches apart. These rivets are not decorative, although they look fantastic. They're structural. The result is a case that is roughly 96% aluminum, with stainless steel used only where aluminum is not the right solution. Add to all this, like we have to, Italian leather handles that feel buttery and lovely. You have a carry-on that doesn't just feel premium, it feels intentionally overbuilt. On to the Zero Halliburton Heritage Continental carry-on. With everything I just said about the Sterling Pacific, this does not mean that the Zero is in any way inferior. Zero Halliburton uses a 1 millimeter thick 6000 series aluminum shell, heated and molded using their proprietary process. It's what made Zero Halliburton famous. This allows for their signature impact-bearing ridges and the smooth, corner guard-free design that defines the Heritage Series. Because 6000 series is more rigid, Zero was able to eliminate external corner guards, resulting in a cleaner, more elegant silhouette inspired by their original designs back from the 1940s. High-impact polymer is used strategically in the trolley housing, trolley handles, and wheel housings. One of the reasons why the case is lighter overall. It's conservative, refined, and easy to live with on a day-to-day basis by many travelers. I'd like to add, the handles on the Zero Halliburton feature an integrated oil dampener, so it returns smoothly when released and creating a very elegant feel. Now, Sterling Pacific emphasizes material diversity, visible engineering, and an aviation-inspired overall aesthetic. Zero Halliburton focuses on elegant heritage design, weight reduction through smart material choices. As an owner of both, something very interesting happened to me. I stopped thinking about my luggage. Both gave me a great deal of confidence, not just the first trip, but on every trip.
Now I'm going to be a little bit redundant here, and I want you just to work with me and bear with me. I'm going to show you different aspects from both of these two carry-ons, and I'm going to compare the two so you can see them along with me. I'm going to start with the shells, and I'm going to start over here with the Zero Halliburton. The Zero Halliburton is 6000 series aluminum. Now what Zero does, and it's very unique to their company, is they take that 6000 series, they heat it, and then they use a proprietary molding system, and that's why it looks so smooth all the way around, front, back, top, and bottom. Now 6000 series aluminum is much more rigid than 5000 is. That means it takes a hit and doesn't necessarily dent as much. Now the reason why that's important when I'm talking about Zero Halliburton are the corners. Notice that the corners have no corner guards. That's because they use the 6000 series aluminum. more rigid. That means you can have stronger corners without putting corner guards on it. Now, what Zero Halliburton did when they made this series, this is the Heritage series, what they did was they said, we want to go back to our roots, hence the name Heritage. And back in the 1940s and late 1930s, when they started to produce luggage, this is the way they looked. This is the original look of Zero. And their clients said, go back to the origination. Now, not all Zero series use 6000 series, just the Heritage series. So that if that makes sense, let's transition over here to the Sterling Pacific. The Sterling Pacific on their shell use 50-52 aluminum shells. Now what that is it absorbs shock without cracking. So it'll take a dent because it's a little bit softer. Now what does that mean? It means that on the high impact points, like the corners, they want to be able to protect them. That's why you see corner guards on the Sterling. Now over here again, on the Zero Halliburton, I want you to understand that the thickness of this 6000 is 1 millimeter, and the thickness of this 50-52 aluminum series is 0.9, so it's essentially the same. Now I want to go further. As part of the actual shell, you'll notice the indentations here and the indentations here. Those are called impact bearing stress points. So impact bearing stress points, what they're designed for is two things. One, obviously, it looks pretty. It's kind of looks unique and pretty. For Zero, it goes way back. When you see this, you know it's a Zero Halliburton. Over here in the Sterling, the way it has it, it's designed on both sides to be distinctive, pretty, and for me, a real retro design. But more importantly, functionally, they're shock absorbers. These are here to absorb the shock so that the stuff inside the case doesn't have to. That's the kind of thought that both of these two companies put into their shell. It's different. They use different materials, but it doesn't mean that they don't have the same outcome. I'd like to add also that on the Sterling, where the shell is 0.9 millimeters and it's 50-52 aluminum, the end corners are actually 1.5 millimeters of 50-52. They really took it into consideration. Remember, if these cases drop, which is going to be rare because they're carry-ons, these cases drop, they're probably going to drop on the corners.
Now, the reason why I started to do these very detailed comparison and reviews was because I couldn't find what I was looking for when I was trying to make a decision. I needed something else. I needed somebody that came across that was legitimately someone who'd been on the road for decades. And whatever they used, whatever luggage they used, the experience they had, plus the experience they have with these two brands, actually made a difference to their travel. That's what I'm going to bring to the table. Now let's break down different aspects of each one of these carry-on pieces of luggage. So my background really teaches me what's most important, least important, but it's to me, not necessarily to you. So take that with a grain of salt. I'm going to start with the trolley arm. If something fails on quality luggage, it's usually the trolley arm. Over 30 years, I've had 3 trolley arm issues, usually caused by lifting the bag improperly or wear and tear. So my priority is rigidity, smooth operation, minimal wobble, and very, very strong material. Now with the Zero Halliburton Carry-On Heritage Series, the trolley arm is very good. Much better than the Zero Halliburton Pursuit Series, which I own as well. It allows infinite stopping positions, not fixed levels. That's great. There is a slight wobble, but it's very well within acceptable limits. The Sterling Pacific, the trolley arm is rock solid. No wobbles, extremely smooth, made of cast A380 aluminum, including the housing. It's one of the best built trolley arm systems I've ever used in any piece of luggage. Now from a real world experience standpoint, when I was on the road for those 40 years and I had issues with these trolley arms, that's why I put this number one on my list. Now, the Zero Halliburton did great, except the wobble kind of bothered me, but I really love the fact that you could go up or down at any specific position. That made me feel a lot more confident. The Sterling Pacific was built much more solidly. There's no question that the die cast that they used for the trolley makes a difference. Yet it was surprising to me that the trolley arm had 3 specific positions. That's part of the issues that I've had in the past when I had Zero Halliburton for those 30 years. When I rate them both, there's no question the better built trolley arm is Sterling Pacific. But the Zero Halliburton does a great job.
Now, as I approach the shell, I'm going to approach the trolley arms. First, I'm going to start with the Zero Halliburton. I'm going to pull it all the way up. Then I want to show you what makes this trolley arm somewhat unique. Now I'm going to press the button and put it down. Notice how it stopped? Put it down. Notice how it stopped? Put it down. Notice how it stopped? I can put that trolley arm anywhere I want, from the highest point to the lowest point. Now, some of us, myself included, have had some issues when pulling the trolley arm, where I couldn't get it right in the perfect spot. Not so much on a Zero Halliburton. Now, when I go over to the Sterling Pacific, put it all the way up. Now I'm going to show you that that's the highest point. Then they have a second point and a third point and down. So this one has 3 points that you can go on. This one has unlimited. Now on the Sterling, I'm going to show you, I'll put it all the way up. There are some buttons that have springs, and that's what stops it at the 3 different points. These buttons are what I had problems with, not with Sterling, actually with Zero Halliburton 20 years ago. So when I saw this, it made me a little bit nervous until I started to work with it. Now let me pull up the Zero Halliburton. When you look at both of the trolley arms, the trolley arm on the Sterling is rock solid. This is actually die cast aluminum. And that aluminum that was die cast is absolutely solid as a rock. Not quite as thick though is the Zero Halliburton, and it has a lot more wiggle or wobble. But both of them are high quality. They both work smoothly. Another little comment. The Sterling Pacific, from top to bottom, including the housing inside, are all aluminum. The only thing that's not aluminum is the wrapped handle, which is Italian leather. On the Zero Halliburton, it's polymer up here. The housing is polymer. So that's the difference. Now, I mentioned this before, I'll say it again. These get the job done, no question. Polymer is not a bad product. It also reduced the weight. If you recall, the Zero Halliburton was 1.2 pounds less than the Sterling Pacific. That's some of the reasons. It is the materials that they use. But I will assure you, both of these trolley arms are made to last for a really, really long time, and that's important. I'm going to make another comment, if you would. When I open up the case later on, you're going to notice that there is actually, when you look in the bottom of both cases, there's an indentation on both where the trolley arms go down. So you can put your shoes in between. You just have to really organize it a little bit differently. When you see that, you'll also notice that Sterling put the trolley arms in one section of the case. Zero put it in the exact opposite section of the case. I'll explain that in further detail. What really matters are you have outstanding long-term and longevity with your trolley arms.
Now, obviously, most important to me based on my background was the trolley arms. So what comes in second? The wheels and the casters. Now I'm going to tell you a quick story. Recently I came back from a 14-day land and sea trip in Europe. We had a fantastic time. During that I evaluated luggage. Surprised? Now, one of the pieces of luggage, which was a checked piece, was a Zero Halliburton Geo. I made a mistake on this piece of luggage. I purchased it from eBay. Don't do that. Purchase your luggage directly from the manufacturer. Because when I purchased it from eBay, I didn't know that this was 1, 8 years old, and 2, discontinued. That's when Zero Halliburton was making a transition in their company. It wasn't to the same quality as, for example, the Heritage series I have now. One round trip with that old discontinued Geo, and the wheels were absolutely destroyed. So that again emphasized to me some of the feelings I had way back when the wheels that I had didn't work right. So let's now focus on my second focus outside of the trolley, which are the wheels and the casters. Wheels matter, especially on carry-ons. Carry-ons, the wheels are used more than even on the checked luggage. Checked luggage, it comes out of your car, it goes and gets checked in, you pick it up, it goes back in your car. Where carry-ons, they're with you all the time, on purpose. So let's break this down to the wheels and casters and start with Zero Halliburton. Zero Halliburton is equipped with 60 millimeter silent casters featuring built-in bearings to facilitate rotation. The dual wheel design delivers exceptional maneuverability, ensures smooth and comfortable movement. And it shows. Zero put some money into these casters, and they are absolutely beautiful. Let's talk about Sterling Pacific. They have 4 60 millimeter 360 degree wheels tested to, and I'm going to say this to you, it's Satra TM 248 endurance standards. Let me explain what that is. They tortured the wheels. They tortured the wheels for miles. They wanted to make sure that if there was an imperfection in those wheels, if they needed to do something to reinforce those wheels, they could do it. And that's what that endurance test really stands for. What happened? Well, those wheels, they're top tier, no question. So let's coin a phrase where the rubber meets the road, which is kind of funny because I'm talking about the wheels. After multiple trips, I noticed no meaningful performance difference. For me, once again, it gave me a certain level of confidence because if the wheels are bad, your trip becomes bad. I think it's fair to say that wheels on any luggage is very important. Going back to my friends, part of their issue were the wheels. The wheels were making it very difficult for them to navigate. For my wife and myself, who had much better aluminum luggage, not so much. So when you're doing a comparison between Zero Halliburton and Sterling Pacific, you gotta look at the wheels. And I'm here to tell you, I tested them. I tested them on my treadmill. I watched that once and somebody did that. And I said, okay, let's give that a shot. I tested it on my treadmill. I tested it at the airport. I tested it on the planes. I tested it because I wanted to see if there was any noticeable difference between the way the wheels worked on either one of these two cases. And the answer was no. So I couldn't be more pleased. Now, are they slightly different? Yes. And you need to point, if you're good to do a comparison, you need to point out the differences. For example, when you look over here on the Zero Halliburton, you'll notice that the wheels and the housing that the wheels go into are polymer. The actual structure of it are polymer. Now, obviously, the wheels are not. The actual wheel that hits the ground, that's why they're so soft and nice. They both use great ball bearing systems. There are many pieces of luggage that don't use that, and you can tell the difference. Now, over here on the Sterling Pacific, I want you to notice that the actual wheel housing is actually die-cast aluminum. So once again,
Polymer is used on one, die-cast aluminum is used on the other, and it makes a difference, both in weight and also in structural integrity. Now I'm going to make another comment. When you purchase a Sterling 40-liter carry-on, it's different from a structure and wheel standpoint than if you purchase the 35-liter Sterling carry-on. On a 35-liter Sterling carry-on, one of the differences is they don't have 4 360 wheels. They only have 2, and they're in the back, and they're oversized. Those wheels could probably take more of a beating than these spinners can. And that's proven when you look online and you do research. When these are dropped continuously, these wheels can be damaged. Now they can be replaced, and remember, if you replace them most of the time, they can send you the wheels and you can replace them yourself. That's good, because the actual housing is aluminum. The only thing that you're really replacing is the wheel. So keep that in mind. That's one of the reasons from a materials and workmanship standpoint that this case is a little bit heavier and a lot more expensive. Over here on the Zero, you can also replace these wheels as well, as long as there's no damage to the wheel housing. Now again, both of them were hard to, they were like butter. Matter of fact, if you don't watch it, they'll roll away from you because that's how smooth they are. So wheels make a difference. These two brands put the money in the wheels.
Now my next point is very important to me, and I'll bet you when you hear it, it's going to be important to you too. It's called weight distribution. Now we all know that how you pack your bag has something to do with weight distribution, but not as much as you think. It's how the actual luggage is built. Now these are carry-ons. It's going to be with you a lot, and the balance of weight is critical, because if the balance is off, the carry-on luggage falls. It's happened to me. I've seen it happen in the airport. Now add to this that you're going to put your backpack on the trolley arm. Now weight distribution is even more important. Nothing has been more embarrassing to me than walking and having my carry-on fall over to the side and almost take me with it. So from a conclusion standpoint here, this is where the premium engineering really shows true value in both of these two brands. Now I know I'm going to be a little redundant. Please just bear with me here. I know I mentioned this before. On my recent trip to Europe, which is 14 days of planes, trains, and automobiles, to coin a movie phrase, our friends had very inexpensive polymer luggage. It's just what they had. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even theirs. It was hand-me-downs from their kids. Moving those pieces around the airport, train stations, and especially those cobblestones in the city streets, it just simply wasn't easy. On more than one occasion, their luggage fell over, almost taking them to the ground with them. Now, I'm telling you that very, very early on in my career, when I was in my early 20s, before I got great luggage, same thing happened to me. And when I'm walking around the airport, I see it happening to other people. Now, my wife and I had zero issues. The reason is we had really high quality aluminum luggage. And that was really the determining factor. My job with you is to help you enhance your travel experience. In this case, through the right luggage choices. Now my next element is commonly overlooked, and it shouldn't be. When I tell you what it is, you're going to say, you're right, that matters. And that's the interior design. I have had situations way early in my career where I had to open up my carry-on, and when I did, the stuff fell out. Had it ever happened to you? I've seen it happen to other people in the airport. It's, again, it's embarrassing. It shouldn't really happen. The interior design should be just better thought out. I'm happy to say both of these two brands have done a good job. But let's start with Zero Halliburton. Now, before I begin, please understand, I learned about 5 or 6 years ago to use compression bags. So I put most of my clothes into compression bags, which makes life a whole lot easier for me, and I can put more stuff into my luggage. but it also it's clean, it's organized. The compression bags on the Zero Halliburton go in the bottom half. Now the bottom half has a compression panel that has tension straps. It's excellent. So the bags go in, I tighten it up, nothing's ever going to come out of that. It's just not going to happen. Now on the top of the luggage, it's the same liters of space, but it's a zipper. So things that are loose go up there. So now, if you have a zippered with the things that are loose, you have compression bags and a compression panel, I assure you, nothing's coming out of your carry-on.
Now notably, this is the Zero Halliburton Heritage Series. So you have a compression panel for the full area, and then you have an equal area over here that has your zippered area. So let's talk about the compression panel first. On this side is where I would normally put my compression bags. I would put them in here, make them real tight, put the compression panel over, and then adjust the Zero Halliburton compression panel to be as tight as it can be. Now, I'm at the airport, I'm in check-in, oh, I have to look in, I have to get something, nothing's going to fall out. Zero. So that situation is gone. This side is the zippered area. Earlier I mentioned in the zipper area, this is actually where the trolley housing is and where the trolley goes down to. So right in the middle, right where my hand is, right here, that area kind of dips in. So what you want to do is you want to use the best use of that space. I usually put shoes there. Now, I also use compression panels on this side if I have any available, because remember, I'm going to use the compression panels mainly in my checked luggage. But anything that's loose, I would put in here. And I would put it in nice and tight. I flip it over. I zip it back up. And again, nothing is going to fall out. Now, to my liking, there's also some zippered areas over here for flat items, a top and a bottom. And I consider this method of interior usage to be as good, if not the best, I've seen on any luggage, whether checked or carry-ons.
Now let's talk about the Sterling Pacific. They use durable materials, premium hardware, but a much simpler strap-based compression system. Now remember, I'm using compression bags. So for me, it's 6 1 half a dozen of the other. The straps go over the middle. You place the bag so the middle is the largest bag and nothing comes out. But if you're not using compression bags, there's a possibility that those straps aren't enough to keep everything in, so you have to give a little bit more consideration on how you pack it. Now on the top, same thing, the same amount of liters of space. And also the same thing, it's zippered. So that's where you'd put your loose items. So conceptually, both of these two brands are doing the same thing. One is using a compression panel, the other is using compression straps. Now from my standpoint, both work well, but the Zero Halliburton compression panel, for me, it makes it superior. This is an area that maybe Sterling Pacific can work on in the future.
Now immediately you can see a difference in the design. For example, on this side, the compression area uses high quality straps with very high quality metal fasteners. Now, also, if you recall, on the Zero Halliburton, I said on the zipper side is where the trolley housing is. Well, with the Sterling, it's here, instead of the zipper side, it's over here on the compression side. Now here's the deal. I like these straps. I think they're great. I think they're super high quality. And again, I'm going to use my compression bags. So nothing's going to fall out. But if you're not going to use compression bags, you need to be careful with the way that you package this. You want to make sure that the things on the top lay flat this way so that when you fasten them in, there's no way they can come out. So it takes a little bit more thought. If truth be told, I much prefer a compression panel. But this is still a high quality way to pack your luggage. Remember, the trolley arm is here, so you might want to put your shoes down here in this little crevice. On the other side, I'm going to point to this area right here, right there. This is a leather tag that shows the brand, which is Sterling Pacific, and underneath it, that's your actual serial number for this particular case, in case you ever have to send it back for repair or you have a question about it. I think that's really cool. You'll never forget where your serial number is. Now I'm going to open up the zippered pouch. And remember what I said before, this is where loose items go. Can you still put compression bags? Absolutely. But I saved my compression bags, for the most part, from my check luggage, because that's where you really need it. So anything that's loose goes in here. On the top, just like on the Zero Halliburton, you have another zippered area where you can put stuff. So, compression area, zippered area, it's virtually the same use. Both of the cases, the number of liters down here on this case, which is a 40-liter case, is 20, and the amount up here under the zipper is 20. It's equal same when you look at the Zero Halliburton. The difference is that the Zero Halliburton is not a 40-liter, it's a 34-liter. Excellent way. My preference would be a panel, but this works great.
So you can clearly see my strategy. I look at both brands. Both brands are excellent, but there are some aspects of one brand that's, in my opinion, for my use, better than the other. So I'm going to call that out. But in no way, shape, or form am I saying either one of the systems or either one of the pieces of luggage are inferior in any way. I will say, especially with interior design, you have to really think it through. You want to carry what you want to carry. Sometimes you overpack a little bit. You want to make sure you have a system to be able to do that. So having a third item like compression bags really makes a super good difference. As soon as I started to use compression bags, everything became easier for me, easier to find things, easier to really organize. Now, one of the sections that I'm going to add into this particular video is why I use a carry-on, why I use a check bag, and why I use a backpack. Because if you can get the logical approach to all those things, you will simplify your travel from this point forward. Next, let's talk about the locking systems, because this is one of those details that affects your daily experience every single trip. Now, in the real world, a TSA lock is not guaranteed against theft. The TSA locks on these high-end aluminum luggage brands are worlds better than any zippered system. These locks are convenient, have consistency, and truly build confidence. On premium luggage, the locks also tell you a lot about the brand's design philosophy. These two designs could not be more different. Both fully functional, both really different. Now let's start with Sterling Pacific. It uses two TSA-approved spring-loaded combination latch locks. They're positioned on either side of the Italian leather handles, securing the lid to the trunk. Now the style is a very retro aviation inspired, and it's similar to what you see on other ultra-premium aluminum luggage like Rimowa. In daily use, the locks feel solid and deliberate. You're not just closing a suitcase, you're latching down a piece of equipment. The Zero Halliburton latch lock is reminiscent of the vintage Zero attaché cases. It opens and closes with a really cool one-touch, single-lever movement. I personally love this locking system. It's streamlined, modern, minimalistic, and it's designed for speed and simplicity. In use, it feels ultra smooth. The action is clean. Opening and closing the case is genuinely satisfying. It's one of those small details that makes the luggage feel more refined every time you touch it. Now, in conclusion, both locking systems work perfectly. Both are clearly ultra high-end. Sterling delivers a more retro aviation style latch experience, strong, deliberate, and built like real hardware. Zero Halliburton delivers a modern, streamlined, one-touch system that's fast and elegant. They both do the job very well. But if I'm judging purely on the user experience, especially opening and closing, the Zero Halliburton lock is much more impressive to me. Now, would I change the Sterling Pacific design? No. Just an overall comment.
Now, let me just take a minute to talk about the locks, because they're important just like every other part of a great carry-on is important, but they're different. One's real minimalistic looking, and the other one is real aviation retro looking. So let's start with the Zero Halliburton. This is a one-touch locking system and it's pretty cool. So I'm going to show you how it works. You simply squeeze and both the locks open up. Pretty cool, right? And then to close them, you just close them like normal. Now, to me, that's a pretty cool way to have locks. Over here, you have two separate locks on the Sterling Pacific. Again, real retro, real heavy duty, still TSA approved. So you have to hit it twice to once, not really a big deal. Different, and it really associates itself with the style of the luggage. Now I like the Zero just because it's cool. I like the Zero better. Does that mean I don't like the Sterling? No, not at all. It's perfect for the aesthetic that it carries out. It's simple as that.
Now you have to ask yourself, does your packing approach make a difference, regardless of what luggage you choose to have? And in my case, I'm telling you, from 4 decades on the road, it makes a difference. So let me start with a bit of an overview here of what I'm going to try to do. And I'm going to be very careful here because I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just sharing with you maybe some best practices. If they relate, use them. If they don't, just disregard this section. As I was evaluating both of these carry-ons, I knew that the interior on paper were different. They were different sizes. Zero Halliburton was 34 liters and the Sterling Pacific was 40 liters. So that had to make a difference. I just didn't know. So I wanted to lay out all my stuff in the compression bags and put them into both of these two pieces of luggage. And I wanted to see if there was a significant difference. And the answer was yes. Significant, questionable. A difference, yes. The Sterling held more stuff than the Zero did. Nice to know. Not much, but still there was a difference. And I just attribute that difference to 40 liters versus 34. This led me to add the following part on packing into this video. So let's just call this a basic approach to packing. I have 3 pieces. I have a backpack, I have a carry-on, I have a checked luggage. My backpack is Briggs & Riley. It's a Traveler. I love the Briggs & Riley. That's the canvas. It was great. It was light. I chose this particular Traveler backpack because it was medium to small. In my backpacks, there are only things that I need quickly to utilize when I'm ground transportation or a train or hotel check-in, cruise check-in, airports, waiting for a flight, the actual flight. I don't want to have to open up my carry-on. I just want to have it right there for me. Things that are in there, and I'm going to give you some examples. Again, your situation might be different. I've got my laptop, my charging block, my Bang & Olufsen H100 noise-canceling headphones, my wallet, wipes, snacks, paperwork, travel pillow, the list goes on. Everything that I need when I'm sitting there, especially on that flight, and I don't want to go to the overhead and pull down my carry-on. That's what's in that piece of luggage. Now from there, I go to my carry-on. Now my carry-on on short trips, obviously it's going to have everything in there. That's why the more room I have, the better. I don't have to have the hassle of having checked luggage when I'm going on a few days journey. Now it's important to remember that airlines have restrictions on carry-ons, whether it's weight or size, so check it out. Now I don't really have that many problems with that because of my status. I walk in and it's like I own the place. It's what comes when you have 5 million miles. But you got to check. It's the smart thing to do. And knowing that, I know that there will be a problem when you're on a regional jet because they're so darn small. Now on longer trips, that's when your carry-on needs to be your well thought out backup plan in case your check bag gets delayed, lost, or stolen. And if you don't think that happens, then you have not been traveling very much. Carry-ons, for me, carry things like jewelry and valuables, medicines, makeups, one complete casual outfit, one complete formal or business casual outfit, bathing suits, shorts, nice t-shirts, electronics, cords that you don't need when you're actually flying, casual and formal shoes, and the list goes on, but you get the general drift. It's a backup plan. Then your check luggage, that has all the rest of your stuff. Now I try to use compression bags both in my check-in and in my carry-on. Now I'm going to tell you a quick story. This actually happened just recently. We were going to Europe. It was 14 days. It was land and sea. With my wife, I explained the approach. She agreed. And this approach came from years and years and years of trial and errors. She said, that's exactly what I did. I mean, she didn't use compression bags. She used Ziplocs. I said, honey, I'll buy you a compression bag. She said, no, I don't need that stuff. Fine. So I explained, this is what goes in your backpack. This is what goes in your check-in. This is what goes in your carry-on. And these are the reasons why. Now, we've been married now for 46 years. So does she listen to what I say? Probably not. So I knew what was going to happen because it's happened so many times before. And I'm not trying to make fun. I am trying to make an association with you if this has ever happened to you. The first thing that happened was at the airport. The airport, all of a sudden, she has to get into her luggage. She has to open it up because there's something that she wants, something that's missing, something she wants to take on board. Why the heck didn't she figure that out before she got to the airport? So now the bags are open. It's frustrating. She's getting frustrating. And I'm just walking away smiling, saying, once again, the same stuff happens. Oh, don't worry. It happened again. This time at the first hotel we're at. Normally, your carry-on has that closed so that you don't have to go through your big bag. You don't have to open it up. You're going to be on a cruise soon. But no. She needed something. She didn't know where it was. Was it in the small bag? Was it in the big bag? Where was it? And every single thing in both of her luggages are on the floor, and she is upset. Now, that's not the kind of thing. That's not the kind of time I want to waste when I'm in Monte Carlo, because that's exactly where it happened. Monte Carlo. In Monte Carlo, I want to go to the casino that James Bond was in, and I want to go gamble. But not until all that stuff that's all over the floor gets repackaged again. And I didn't help, and I didn't give any advice. That, by the way, is good advice for those of you that have been married for more than a few years. When stuff like that happens, back away. You're not the problem. Don't get into it. Enough said on that. Now the next section is durability after travel. Great aluminum luggage can last for decades. I've lived that experience. My first set lasted for over 30 years. Both carry-ons shown no damage at all after travel. Now remember, they were with me. being with me, I treat them with a little bit of respect. When you're going to pay this much for luggage, you might as well treat them right. Now, cosmetically, both remained in excellent condition. Carry-ons rarely face the same abuse that checked luggage does. Now, I also did a comparison of Sterling and Zero check luggage. Now, they got cosmetic damage. Sterling far less than the Zero, but they still had it. But functionally, they worked like they were brand new. Now, drawing that to a conclusion, both of these pieces of luggage are noticeably overbuilt, but in different ways. You don't need this level of durability on a carry-on, but if you want to use it and own it for decades, it's worth the premium. Interestingly, I have been a frequent flyer for a long time, and I've always had nice luggage, especially in business. But I've never had so many people come up to me and ask me about the Sterling Pacific in the airport, far more than the Zero Halliburton. Now, that has nothing to do with its functionality. That kind of surprised me. But when you look at it, it is kind of a gorgeous piece of luggage. Now, my next section is something that a lot of people that do reviews, especially on luggage, they never bring it up. And I don't understand why, because if you're going to invest, and when you're paying at this price point, you are definitely investing. When you're going to invest into luggage, you should know a little bit about that company's customer service. Now, in my career, I spent, oh my gosh, decades working with customer service departments. That's why I understand it so well. There is a term called touch points. So anytime that we as a customer contact, whether email, face-to-face, or on a telephone, when we have a contact with somebody from a company that provides products or services, that's a touch point. And we rate that company on each and every single touch point that we have. So if we call them and they're mean to us or they're rude to us, or if we send them an email and they never get back with us or they get back with us 3 weeks later, you expect a little bit more when you're dealing with top tier companies. And that's how we rate customer service. That's how an affluent luxury purchaser rates customer service. And it doesn't take much time for us to get enough of that. We're not going to do any business with them. And I'll give you an example. I reached out to most of the top tier aluminum luggage manufacturers because I wanted to do a full comparison of the best of the best of the best. And I think I came up with them with Zero and Sterling. Now that I've gone through all this process, I can virtually guarantee that. Would it surprise you to know that some of those top tier companies, they're horrible at customer service. They don't follow up, they don't get back with you, and when they do, it's not really a person, it's AI. And as much as I love AI because my gosh, my grammar is horrible, it's not what I want when I'm dealing with a top tier company. Period. End of conversation. So I want you to know that prior to doing this and all the research that I did, I found, and I'm going to explain specific stories on what I found, that Sterling Pacific and Zero Halliburton have some of the best customer service of any luggage company, anywhere, anytime, aluminum or otherwise. And I wouldn't share that with you unless I meant it. I did my research so you don't have to. So let's start with Zero Halliburton. Now I'm currently evaluating, if you would, or comparing the Heritage series. I have had zero problems with the Heritage series. It's great. It's great. But I did buy my wife a set of another series with Zero. I bought her a carry-on and I bought her a checked luggage. And the name of that series is called Pursuit. So when I did my comparison prior to this one, and I was focused on checked luggage, I did the Pursuit 90 against the Sterling 90. So I noticed when I opened up the Pursuit that one of the locks wasn't working well.
There's a way that you can set the lock to create the combination, and it wasn't working. It was working on 3 of the 4 locks, but not on the 4th one. So I reached out to Zero Halliburton. They got back with me that day. They asked me for a picture. I sent it. And 5 days later, in the mail, came the new lock. Now, I was a little worried about that because technically I'm okay. But when you put a screwdriver in my hand, not so good. So I got the lock. I put it on. Took less than 2 minutes to put it on. It worked perfectly. Blew me away. That is the way customer service should work. Now, that's an indication of what's going to happen in the future. So now I have confidence in Zero Halliburton's customer service. Now, let's talk about Sterling Pacific. I had lots of questions, lots. And usually when you send out questions, you really don't get people to come back, or it's AI. Believe me, I know. I had an AI conversation, not knowing it was an AI conversation, with an aluminum luggage company. It lasted for 2 weeks until I figured out this isn't even a real person. Finally, they got back with me, but it was at least a month after my inquiry. But Sterling, they got back with me right away. I was so impressed, and it was quick. It was always the same day. It was never more than 2 hours. That's pretty impressive. And that's every touch point I got dealt with like I was an honored customer. Now, I want to share something with you. I did something stupid. When I bought my first Sterling luggage, I went, it was the name of the company that you pay was called Shop. And I put it in, but I sent it to the wrong address. I felt like such an idiot. And so I reached out because I didn't want it to go to the other address. I didn't live there anymore. This is a pretty expensive deal. I wanted it to come to me. So I reached out, and within 2 hours, somebody got back with me, said it was changed and it was handled. Again, touch points. Doesn't have to be when you have an issue. Any touch point. That's how we rate the quality of a company. And when you're at top tier like these 2 companies are, we expect that. It's part of what we want. And when we don't get it, we look elsewhere. We let our wallet do the talking. I can't tell you how satisfied I am, how they exceeded my expectations, both companies, with their customer service. So I had a fantastic time evaluating these 2 absolutely high-end premium carry-on luggage. Both of them were outstanding, and it wasn't about which is better, which is worse. They both have positives, they both have some negatives, and it really depends on what you need and what you want. And I hope that the video that I gave you some food for thought so you can make a business decision to proceed. It's up to you. I told you what my point of view was, but your point of view and your needs might be different. So let me just take this first together with both the Zero and the Sterling. I love the fact that repairability is easy. Most items on both of these 2 cases, you can repair if needed. If it's a lock or it's a wheel, whatever it might be, you have the ability to do it yourself. They send you the part, you put it in, so therefore the delay is less. Now, when I had to do this over those 30 years when I had my first premium set of aluminum luggage, I had to send them back. So they were gone for a couple of weeks. So I had to have a backup plan. That might happen to us too with these 2, but the likelihood, because of the way they're designed, is slim and none. That's, to me, a huge buying point with Zero Halliburton as well as the Sterling Pacific. The first brand that I'm going to focus in on is Zero Halliburton. I have a deep, long relationship with Zero Halliburton. When I speak about my first really good set of aluminum luggage, it was Zero Halliburton. That's what lasted those 30 years. Now remember, I'm 67 and I got my first set when I was 22. So that was a long time ago. So things change over the years. I was just wondering if things changed with Zero. Well, Zero came out with this Heritage series, and I'm being very specific, the Heritage series, which means it goes back to their heritage. I love the fact that they use 6,000 aluminum. I love the fact that they heat the aluminum and then they put it on a press and they mold it, and only they have that proprietary way of molding. So it makes the exterior just as smooth as glass and absolutely beautiful. Yet, when you look at it, it's understated. Understated in a big way. People in the airport, they have no clue what I have. They don't have any clue how nice it is. I kind of like that in a way. I don't care if other people know that I have something really expensive, but I don't go out of my way to let them know that. It's not important to me. What's important to me is that it does what it's supposed to do, and that's exactly what this did. I was impressed with the looks, I was impressed with the materials, and I was impressed with the design. Now, some of the designs I really was impressed with was I loved that the handle, the trolley, went up and down and had infinite ways of being able to lock in. I thought that was great because it's so different than most other carry-on luggage or other check-in luggage. The other thing that I loved was I loved that the locks, that you can open it up with one finger and both locks open up, and it was really smooth as glass. I thought they did an outstanding job, and I really loved the interior. I love when you have a compression panel versus the straps. Now both work, but the compression panel, to me, it's better. And of course, the wheels were outstanding. Some of the things that I look at and I go, I'm not quite sure about that, is when you notice the rivets all the way around the Zero, it's not even. And there's different rivets. So I wonder, what were they thinking? And the other thing has to do with the frame. The frame is what holds the shell in and keeps everything rigid so it opens and closes well. On the outside of the frame, it's just a little lip that goes around. The inside's thicker, but the outside. And it really doesn't use the rivets to go into the frame. And I question that. It's not exactly what my expectations would be. But all in all, outstanding piece of carry-on luggage. I love it, and anybody that purchases it, I guarantee you'll love it as well. On to the Sterling Pacific. For the life of me, I never thought in my lifetime, at any point in time, I'd ever be able to afford a $2,150 piece of luggage. That's a lot. I mean, I don't care who you are, that's a lot. That's probably the most expensive carry-on that you can purchase. So I want to see, what am I getting for that? And you get a lot. And most importantly, it's the materials. And it's not just the materials. It's not just the 3 different types of aluminum that's being used. It's that each part or each type of aluminum has a specific purpose that supports the other parts. And that's why 98% of the entire carry-on is aluminum. There's relatively no plastic. There's some rubber bushings on the bottom, so when you put it down like a piece of luggage, it doesn't hit the aluminum. But other than that, it's aluminum. That's what you're getting for that kind of money. And because of that, it's sturdier. It's designed to be sturdier. Now, I want to go past that and say, I noticed, and you got to notice stuff like this, when you're at this level, this caliber of engineering, I noticed that every single rivet, and those rivets are stainless steel rivets. Everyone else uses aluminum rivets, but Sterling uses stainless steel rivets because it's permanent, it's going to last longer, it's strong. I respect that, especially with the 3 different types of aluminum that they're using. But every rivet is spaced 2 inches apart, top, bottom, side. It's amazing. It's simply amazing. It looks precise. It just looks precise. It looks like a really quality piece of luggage because it is. I also special kudos for the trolley arm. That thing is solid as a rock. Now, I know that it has 3 different positions where the Zero could go up and down in any position that you wanted. Pulling that aside, it is solid. And I really needed that because I had some issues way back when on trolley arms. So it gave me confidence that I didn't have before. Now, when I go inside and I look inside the actual case and I look how it's designed, I like it very much because you have a zipper compartment and you also have a compression department, but it has the straps. So I said it in the video, I'll say it to you right now. It's not my favorite, but it works fine because of the way that I pack. The way I pack is I use compression bags. If you're going to use compression bags, that works perfectly. Actually, having a compression panel is almost overkill. There's some other things that I noticed that I really want to bring to your attention. When you look at the actual frame of the Sterling Pacific, the frame is thick. It's an inch and a half on the bottom, an inch and a half on the top, in and out. And the frame is riveted to the shell. This is unlike the Zero. And remember those rivets 2 inches apart? When you open and close the piece of luggage, you can tell how solid it is and how precise it is. You can tell that even after it gets some abuse, and carry-ons are not going to get the abuse that you're going to get from your check-ins, even after that, it's still going to open and close well. Now the locks, not quite as fancy as the Zero, but real retro. And that drives me to my last point. I mentioned this, but I want to mention this to you here and now. When I go through the airport with the Sterling Pacific carry-on, I have never gotten so many people who have had inquiries on what it was that I had. There's a difference in the look. One is subdued, that's the Zero. The other one, it just kind of pops. And people come up to me all the time and say, what is that? And of course, if you say that to me, it might take 30 minutes. You might miss your plane. But it really looks great. That retro aviation aesthetic, to me, it's just absolutely beautiful. Finally, the wheels. Outstanding. Now, so are the wheels on the Zero. So now I'm looking at these two and I'm saying, son of a gun, this is a tough choice if you had to make it. I'll tell you what my choice is, but first, you will not be disappointed with either one of these selections. Of this, I assure you, these are great carry-ons. Now, I have to give you my personal preference. My personal preference, and this surprises me as much as it might surprise some of you, is the Sterling Pacific. It's not because it's more expensive. It's not because it's rarer. It's because it just feels solid. Solid as a rock. I love the way it's put together. I love the way it's engineered. I love the way it looks. Everything about this piece of luggage suits me. Now again, Zero Halliburton, spectacular. No question about it. You'll never be disappointed. But with a lifetime warranty on the Sterling Pacific, that sure really made the decision for me. I want to point out two other things. I brought this up in my video and I'm going to bring it up to you. I have had wonderful experiences on both the Sterling and the Zero from a customer service standpoint. I have had a better experience from customer service with the Sterling Pacific than I did with the Zero. The Zero, the touch points were great, but there was some executives that, let me say, were less than helpful when I was putting this together. And all I wanted to do was really highlight their piece of luggage. And I hold no resentment to that. They're busy people. Yet the folks at Sterling, whatever I needed, any background information, any clarification, they were always there for me. Never a problem. So if I were going to rate which one of the customer services were better, it would be Sterling, but just by a smidgen. But remember what I said, touch points, especially with luxury items, touch points make a difference. So there it is. Now I want to hear from you. Now you have your own personal needs. So which one of these two would you buy? Please comment below. And if you think about it, hit a like or subscribe. I look at lots of things from luxury cruises to travel products, including high-end noise reduction headphones and packing bags and luggage and lots of things. And I also look at things like Delta Airlines and the different classifications that you're in and you travel. I do a lot of things. And I'll give you all of those links down below. But I want to know what you think. which one of these is the ones that you'd like to have, and tell me why. Now, links for both the products will be below, so they're there for you. I hope you enjoyed this. It was a pleasure doing it, an absolute joy. What a great hobby I have in my retirement. So remember, travel well and enjoy every moment.